So the aim of UK Biobank was to build a resource for researchers all around the world, both academic and commercial, to study the genetic and environmental lifestyle determinants of a very wide range of diseases. So we have 500,000 men and women aged 40 to 69 who've agreed to take part. We have a lot of information about their exposures. We have genotype data on them. We're imaging a large proportion of them. And they're all linked into the UK health records. So our hope is that researchers anywhere in the world will use this resource for health research that's in the public interest. And I think the biggest challenge will be persuading them that it's as easy to use it as we believe it is, and that they will allow their imagination to run riot in working out how to use it to study the determinants of disease. The biggest challenge of UK Biobank is the scale. So trying to study 500,000 people, getting lots of questions answered, measurements made, samples collected. So I think the most important solution to that problem has been getting clear scientific input into what questions to ask, what measurements to make, what samples to collect, and then applying a much more industrial approach to how that information or samples are obtained. And that sort of separation between the academic input into what to do and then the industrial input into how to do it has been the key to the success of UK Biobank. The development of UK Biobank has depended on input from a very wide range of scientists from many different disciplines. In considering how to approach the issues of genetics in UK Biobank, a working group was set up, chaired by Peter Donnelly, with input from experts in the UK, Europe and the US, to address the question of what should we do? Should we sequence a small subset of the 500,000 participants? Or should we go for genotyping in a very large proportion of the participants? As a prospective cohort, that is a study where we have information on people at baseline and then we're looking at a disease that occurs over time. Having information on a very large proportion of the individuals is much more valuable. And that really pushed us towards the decision to genotype. I don't think any of us believed at that time that we would be able to genotype all 500,000 participants, but in the end that's what happened. Then the question was, well, what do we want from that genotyping? I'm not an expert in genetics, but the expert working group felt that they wanted to have really good coverage. They wanted to be able to get good imputation, not just for common, but down to rarer variants. And they worked very hard with the Affymetrix team, who put a lot into the scientific development of that chip to provide that coverage that would make the resource as useful as possible to many different researchers. UK Biobank completed its recruitment of 500,000 people between 2006 and 2010. Those participants are now linked into the UK health record systems. So we're now getting information about deaths, about cancers, about hospitalizations, about health outcomes that lead them to seeing their family doctors. And we're also following them up through web questionnaires to find out about other kinds of health outcomes that are not identified commonly through health record systems. We're looking at ways to characterize the participants in more detail. The genotyping has been completed on all 500,000. In May of 2015, we released the data on the first 150,000 participants, not just the measured genotypes, but imputation of some 73 million markers. We anticipate releasing all of the genotype data with reimputation by the middle of 2016. We've been running imaging. We've imaged some 6,000 of the participants, and we are hoping that over the next 5 or 6 years we will image 100,000 of the participants with MR of brain, heart, body, DEXA of bone and joint, carotid ultrasound, and re-examination in terms of blood samples, physical measurements and questionnaires. So what we're looking to do is enhance the phenotyping of the participants, obtain information about their health outcomes, characterize those health outcomes in detail in terms of, say, not just have they had a stroke, but what kind of stroke, what's that diagnosis based on in terms of imaging, so that the resource is as useful to the widest range of researchers around the world to study the determinants of a very wide range of different diseases.